I'm going to show you how to work out all the problems on this worksheet called Using Equations to Solve Problems. So the instructions say make up an equation for each problem, then solve the equation to get the answer. Okay? So the first thing you got to do is obviously read the question and identify what the question's asking. So in this first example, it says, I'm thinking of a number. If you multiply it by 6 and then add 7, you will get 55. What is my number? So your first step when you're given a story problem is you want to identify what they're asking you. And then you're going to use a variable to define it. So it says, what is my number? I'm going to use the variable of x, and that's going to represent the number, the unknown number. Okay? From there, you're going to circle and underline keywords and phrases that are going to help you build an equation. So if you multiply that number by 6 and then add 7, you will get 55. From there, you're going to build an equation, starting with your variable. Okay? So we start with the variable, and then you multiplied it by 6. And then you added 7, and you would get 55. From there, you just go ahead and build that equation. They start with x, multiplied it by 6, then they added 7. Inverse operation of add 7 is to subtract 7, so that's what we did to both sides. And then simplified it down to 6x equals 48. After that, they divided both sides by 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 1 times x is x. 48 divided by 6 is 8, so the answer is 8. Next one. Thinking of a number, if you multiply it by 4, then add 13, you will get 37. What is my number? So my variable, I'm going to use the variable of x, and that's going to represent the number. Okay? And circle and underline keywords and phrases. So you're going to multiply that number by 4, then you're going to add 13, and you'll get 37. So when you're building your equation, you're going to start with x. And then it looks like you multiplied it by 4, and then you added 13, and you'd get 37. Okay, from there, you're just going to solve it. But build it first. You start with x, multiplied it by 4, then you added 13. Inverse operation of adding 13 is to subtract 13, so that's what you'll do to both sides of that equal sign. 13 take away 13 is 0. 37 take away 13 is 24. Bring down your equal sign, bring down your 4x. Now go on back up. Inverse operation of timesing by 4 is to divide by 4. Do that to both sides of the equal sign. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 1 times x is 1x or x. 24 divided by 4 is 6. So your answer is 6. The number is 6. Okay? The next problem. I'm thinking of a number. If you multiply it by 8 and then add 17, you will get 33. What's my number? Identify what they're asking you to find and then assign a variable to it. I'm going to also use x again. And x is going to represent the number. Circle and underline those keywords and phrases. If you multiply it by 8 and then add 17, you will get 33. So build it. Start with that variable. You multiply it by 8, and then you're going to add 17. You will get 33. Now go ahead and build that equation in order to solve it. Start with x, then we times it by 8, and then we added 17. Inverse operation of adding 17 is to subtract 17, so you'll do that to both sides of the equal sign. 17 take away 17 is 0. 37 take away 17 is 16. Bring down your equal sign, bring down your 8x. From there, the inverse operation of times 8 is to divide by 8, so you'll do that to both sides of that equal sign. 8 divided by 8 is 1. 1 times x is x. 16 divided by 8 is 2. Your solution is 2. The number that they're thinking of is 2. Next problem. I'm thinking of a number. If you multiply it by 5 and take away 7, you will get 53. What is my number? Identify what they're asking you to find. They're asking you to find the number. Define the variable. I'm going to use x, and it's going to represent the number that they're thinking of. Circle underline keywords and phrases. So we're going to multiply that number by 5 and then take away 7, and you will get 53. So let's go ahead and build it. Start with the variable, multiply it by 5, and then take away 7, and you'll get 53. Okay, let's build it so that we can solve that equation to come up with the solution. We start with x, then we multiplied it by 5, and then we subtracted 7. Inverse operation of subtract 7 is to add 7. Do that to both sides of the equal sign. Negative 7 plus 7 is 0. 53 plus 7 is 60. Bring down your equal sign, bring down your 5x. Inverse operation of timesing by 5 is to divide by 5. Divide both sides by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 1 times x is x. 60 divided by 5 is 12. So the answer they're thinking about is 12. The next question, or the next story problem. I'm thinking of a number. If you multiply it by 8 and then subtract 13, you'll get 43. What's my number? After you've read it, figure out what they're asking you to find. Then take that, what they're asking you to find, and use a variable and define it. So I'm going to use x, and that's going to represent the number. Okay, circle and underline keywords and phrases. So you're going to multiply that number by 8 and then subtract 13. You'll get 43. Now build it. Start with that variable. You multiply it by 8 and then subtract 13. You'll get 43. Okay, so we started with x, then they multiplied it by 8, and then we subtracted 13. Inverse operation to subtract 13 is to add 13. Put that to both sides of the equal sign. Negative 13 plus 13 is 0. 43 plus 13 is 56. Bring down your equal sign, bring down your 8x. Inverse operation of timesing by 8 is to divide by 8. Divide both sides by 8. 8 divided by 8 is 1. 1 times x is x. 56 divided by 8 is 7. The number they're thinking about is 7. Next problem. I'm thinking of a number. If you multiply it by 5, then subtract 24, you'll get the number I'm thinking about. What is my number? This one is a little bit trickier. Go ahead, as always, after you read it, identify what it's asking you to find. Use a variable to represent it. So x is going to stand for the number. Okay, and you're going to circle and underline keywords and phrases. You multiply it by 5, then subtract 24, and then you'll get the number I'm thinking about. So when you build that equation, start with the variable, okay? If you multiply it by 5 and then subtract 24, you're going to get the number they're thinking about. Well, wasn't x the number they're thinking about? So that's what it's going to look like. You have a variable on each side of the equal sign. So before you can build it, you need to move them to the same side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move them to the left side, or you can move them to the right side. It doesn't matter. So inverse operation of x is to subtract x. Do that to both sides right there. X take away x is 0. 5x take away x is 4x. So I'm going to just rewrite everything. And I need to bring down that 0 so that there's something on that other side of the equal sign. Now that I have one variable on one side of the equal sign, one term with a variable on one side of the equal sign, now I can build it. Start with x, then we multiplied it by 4, then we subtracted 24. Inverse operation of subtract 24 is to add 24. Do that to both sides of that equal sign. Negative 24 plus 24 is 0. 0 plus 24 is 24. So I'm going to write it in this little spot. I'm sorry. 4x equals 24. Now go back up. The inverse operation of times by 4 is to divide by 4. So divide both sides by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 1 times x is 1x, or x. 24 divided by 4 is 6. So your solution to that, the number they're thinking about, is 6. Okay. I'm actually going to show you why that one works right now. So I'm going to substitute my value of 6 in there. So 5 times 6 minus 24 should equal 6. 5 times 6 is 30 minus 24 should equal 6. 30 minus 24 is 6, so 6 equals 6. Another thing is if you're thinking of a number, okay, so you're thinking of the number and it was 6. If you multiplied it by 5, okay, you get 30, and then subtract 24, you're going to get the number I'm thinking about. Well, wasn't the original number 6? Yep, so it works out. Okay, this bottom part looks like it's a riddle. Hey, Randy, I'm thinking of a number. If you multiply by 5, then add 3, you will get 48. I got it, kid. You're thinking of the number 6. And that's their work right there. No, I'm not thinking of 6. Do you know what number Deborah was thinking of? Can you prove it? So apparently this is Randy and this is Deborah, okay? So do you know what number they're thinking of? Can you prove it? Well, you're going to start off by obviously reading it, and we're trying to think of the number. So my x is going to represent Deborah's number, okay? And we're going to go ahead and think of stuff here. She's saying you multiply it by 5, and then you'll add 3. You will get 48, okay? So what we got to do is do that. So let's go ahead and build that equation. We started with x. We multiply it, where are we at here? Multiply it by 5. We're going to add 3. You'll get 48. Okay? So from there, you're going to just go ahead and build it and then solve it. So we started with x, then we multiplied it by 5, then we added 3. Inverse operation of adding 3 is to subtract 3. Do that to both sides of the equal sign. 3 take away 3 is 0. 48 subtract 3 is 45. Bring down your equal sign and your 5x. From there, you're going to divide both sides by 5 because that's the inverse operation of timesing by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 1 times x is x. 45 divided by 5 is 9. So this right here is what Randy got. Can you identify where he had messed up? The spot that Randy messed up was right here. He ended up in that he forgot to subtract 3 from both sides of that equal sign. Okay, or something. I don't exactly know what he did. Oh, I see also what he did. He combined these. Those are not like terms, so he shouldn't have done that. He should have subtracted 3 and subtracted 3, and he forgot to subtract 3 also. So that's part of his mistake. Okay, so down here is the correct way, and that's the proof. Okay, bye.